Hello everyone, Mia Khalifa here from Speak Organic English, and welcome to this special Thanksgiving English lesson that's going to run for about an amazing tips because today, we're not just skimming the surface, we're diving deep into everything you need to know about Thanksgiving vocabulary, phrases, cultural nuances, and even some fun historical background so you can truly understand this holiday like a native speaker. If you're ready to spend this time with me learning practical English you can use right away, let's get started. First, I want to remind you that this is a free lesson, but if you enjoy it and want more just like it, my website gonaturallenglish.com is packed with resources for intermediate to advanced learners like you, including video lessons, blog posts, vocabulary builders, and even some test prep materials if you're studying for exams like TOEFL or IELTS. Now, let's begin by painting a full picture of what Thanksgiving really is because understanding the cultural context will make the language much more meaningful to you. Thanksgiving is celebrated primarily in the United States and Canada, though on different dates, and it's one of the biggest holidays of the year, even bigger than Christmas for some families when it comes to travel and gathering together. The modern American Thanksgiving happens on the fourth Thursday of November, and it traces its origins back to 1621 when the Pilgrims, who were early English settlers, shared a harvest feast with the Wampanoag Native Americans. Today, while the historical aspects are sometimes debated, the holiday has evolved into a time for family, gratitude, and of course, enormous amounts of food. Speaking of food, let's talk about that for a while because it's central to the celebration. The star of the meal is always the turkey, a large bird that's roasted for hours until the skin is crispy and the meat is tender. But turkey alone doesn't make a Thanksgiving meal. There are always side dishes like creamy mashed potatoes, which are made by boiling potatoes and then mashing them with butter and milk until they're smooth and fluffy. Then there's stuffing, sometimes called dressing, which is a seasoned bread mixture that's either cooked inside the turkey or baked separately in a dish. Cranberry sauce, made from tart cranberries cooked with sugar until they burst into a thick sauce, adds a sweet and tangy contrast to the savory dishes. Green bean casserole is another classic, tender green beans baked in a creamy mushroom sauce and topped with crispy fried onions. And let's not forget the pies. Pumpkin pie is the most traditional, with its spiced custard filling in a flaky crust, but many families also serve apple pie or pecan pie. Now that we've set the scene with all this delicious food, let's start building your Thanksgiving vocabulary in a way that will help you remember and use these words naturally. We'll begin with the most basic but essential phrase, Happy Thanksgiving. This is what you'll say to everyone you meet around the holiday, whether it's your neighbors, coworkers, or the cashier at the grocery store. It's similar to how we say Happy New Year or Happy Birthday, but interestingly, we don't say Happy Christmas, we say Merry Christmas, which is an exception worth noting as we approach the winter holidays. Now, let's practice pronouncing Happy Thanksgiving together a few times because getting the rhythm and intonation right will make you sound more natural. Try repeating after me, Happy Thanksgiving. Good. Now let's imagine you're at a Thanksgiving gathering. Maybe you've been invited by American friends or colleagues, and just before the meal begins, the host might say, "Let's say grace." This phrase might confuse you if you're not familiar with it. To say grace means to say a prayer before eating, giving thanks for the food and the company. Even in families that aren't particularly religious, this tradition often persists because Thanksgiving is fundamentally about gratitude. The prayer might be led by one person while everyone else bows their head and says Amen at the end, or sometimes everyone holds hands around the table during the prayer. If you're not comfortable participating, it's perfectly okay to stay quiet and respectful during this moment. After grace comes the moment everyone's been waiting for. It's time to eat. In many languages, there's a standard phrase used to signal the start of the meal, like bon appetit in French or bien provecho in Spanish. English doesn't really have an equivalent phrase, so we either borrow the French bon appetit, which many English speakers use even if they don't speak French, or we simply say, let's eat, or dig in, which is a casual way to tell everyone they can start serving themselves. Now, once the meal begins, you'll need to know how to ask for dishes to be passed to you, because Thanksgiving dinners are typically served family style, with all the dishes placed on the table and people serving themselves. The most common way to ask is, "Could you pass the dish?" For example, "Could you pass the mashed potatoes?" or, could you pass the stuffing? It's polite but not overly formal. If you want to sound a bit more polite, you could say, would you mind passing the green beans? But be careful in a very casual setting. Being too polite can sometimes sound sarcastic or humorous, like you're joking around. The tone of voice is key here. Let's practice these phrases with different foods so you feel comfortable using them. Repeat after me, could you pass the turkey? Good. Now try, could you pass the cranberry sauce? Excellent. As the meal progresses, you'll notice people complimenting the food, and it's good manners to do the same. You might say, this turkey is delicious, or the stuffing is amazing. If you helped prepare a dish, someone might compliment you by saying, you outdid yourself with this pie, which means you did an exceptionally good job. After the main course, there's usually a break before dessert, and this is when people might start feeling very full, a condition we jokingly call a food coma. Someone might say, I'm stuffed, meaning they're very full, playing on the double meaning of stuffed like the turkey. Then comes dessert, with pies being the star, and coffee or tea is often served alongside. Throughout the day, you might hear the playful phrase gobble gobble, which is the sound turkeys make. Children especially love this, and you'll see it on decorations everywhere. It's also used as a playful verb. We gobbled up all the pie means we ate it quickly and eagerly. As the celebration winds down, people might say, I'm thankful for sharing what they're grateful for this year. This tradition reinforces the spirit of the holiday. When leaving, you'd say, Happy Thanksgiving again or see you next time. To reinforce all this, let's imagine a full conversation at a Thanksgiving dinner, with all the phrases we've learned woven naturally into the dialogue. Then we'll do some repetition practice, where I'll say a phrase and leave space for you to repeat it out loud, working on pronunciation and fluency. We'll also cover some common mistakes non-native speakers make during Thanksgiving conversations and how to avoid them. Finally, I'll share some personal stories about memorable Thanksgivings I've had, like the time I burned the pie but everyone pretended it was fine, to show you how these phrases and traditions come together in real life. We'll wrap up with a quick review of all the key phrases: Happy Thanksgiving, to say grace, let's eat, could you pass the, and gobble gobble, plus all the food vocabulary that makes this holiday special. Remember, language learning is most effective when you use what you've learned, so I encourage you to practice these phrases aloud. Imagine yourself at a Thanksgiving table, and if possible, use them with native speakers. Visit gonaturallenglish.com for more immersive lessons, and I'd love to hear in the comments how you'll use these phrases. Happy Thanksgiving, and happy learning!